Everyone, welcome. I am Angela Young-Smucker. I am the Executive Director of Third Coast Baroque, and it is TCB Tuesday. We have a great episode of Meet the Artist today. My friend Reggie Mobley is here, the incredible countertenor that you just heard. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We're going to talk to him in just a second. Before we do, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching the replay, tuning in live. If you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to put them in the comments section and we will get to them as best we can today. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, do all those fun things. You can subscribe to our email newsletter at thirdcoastbaroque.org. Follow us on all of our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We hope to see you there, and we hope that you keep up with us as we keep rolling along through this crazy time, pandemic time. We're going to roll right through. We're going to make music. We're going to talk to these artists, and it's going to be the best we can do, which is great. Also, if you can, please donate. Please help support these artists who are doing what they can to bring music to you, to bring it into your home, to create these performances, whether they're virtual or live. We're doing what we can to keep this music going. And in the coming days, we'll talk more about Third Coast Baroque's 2020-2021 season, of which Reggie is joining us. But without further ado, I'm going to shut up. We're going to bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Mobley. How you doing, my friend? Oh, hang on.
Oh.
Now I got you.
Good. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
You got it, man. I want to say I've got a very special pin in honor of Mr. Reggie Mobley today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we got the Wonder Woman power. So yes, oh my gosh, I love it. Oh boy. So everyone, you'll have to excuse me. I am just so excited about today, and I maybe had a little bit too much coffee, which
is not possible.
Okay. But before we get started, can you just tell folks about your signature drink?
My signature drink is just 10 shots of espresso. There's no other way of talking about it.
Fantastic.
10 shots of espresso over ice. I used to call it the Bizarro latte because typically, at least with Starbucks, an iced latte would be a couple of shots of espresso and then milk. Whereas this is a couple of shots of milk and then just espresso. So it's exactly the way I want it.
Well, and I have to say, this has made you incredibly famous around the world. I mean, I see when you go back to countries where you've performed before, you walk into a Starbucks and they say, "Oh, we know you. You're the 10-shot guy."
Yep. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Shout out to the Starbucks in Waterloo Station.
I love it. We all need a signature drink. We do have a few friends joining us today. As always, John Sagos, our board president. Good to see you, my friend. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, John.
And Brandon Aker, our resident plucker. And
where should I go?
I know. We're so glad you all are joining us. Oh my gosh. And John, I love, 10 shots.
Down to about 4 now.
Oh, so. Good. Well, I'm totally loaded up in our 14-ounce Third Coast Baroque coffee mug, limited edition. I know, right? We all want one. Well, so let's get this started, Reg. I love to ask people about their musical origin stories. So would you just mind talking to us about how you got started in music and what that journey looked like for you?
Well, it started pretty early and pretty late. I was born and raised in Gainesville, Florida, and I sang in my church choir there as a little cherub, but I wasn't really, once my voice started to change, or once I got a little older and got less interested in singing, I stopped. But around the year of 8, when I was 8 through 10, I believe, I took a couple of years of piano lessons. And then once I got to middle school, I started playing trumpet. So I played trumpet from middle through high school and some college. But music was never going to be that big in my life. I liked it, but it was never going to be anything serious. I mostly listened to jazz and gospel and things like that.
Did you think I'm going to be X when I grow up? When you were little?
I mean, an inventor, paleontologist, scientist, artist,
Perfect.
President thing. Yeah, whatever. The doctor.
Awesome.
I think is what I was going to be.
Something simple.
Something simple. Well, my high school was a magnet school for drafting and architecture. And so I joined that program and also went through the AP art program there as well. I also took class piano, and the class piano teacher was also the chorus teacher. And so my senior year, my younger brother, started high school. And he joined the chorus. And so the chorus teacher said, well, a high school chorus in the South, the resource of having boys, tenors and basses is always an issue. Right. So he thought if one brother could sing, well, the other brother is also talented, maybe he can sing as well. So she had me sing for her in her office and decided that I should be in chorus. So I dropped one of my AP art courses and picked up choir, and just kind of fell in love with that, and singing all sorts of little songs, and including some little bits of Purcell and Bach chorales and things like that, which I was sold on. And so I basically, at the end of cutting my origin story short, I basically
as every good superhero has.
Exactly. So I started developing carpal tunnel syndrome, and drawing and sketching and art was just becoming a little more difficult for me. And so my mother and my aunt, the guidance counselor, the chorus teacher, they all got together, and we applied for sorry, let me back up just a little bit.
Sure.
I had an art scholarship to Davidson College in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And that was the plan. But we all decided that I should perhaps try a few other things. And so we applied at Oakwood College, which is a HBCU and a Seventh-day Adventist institution, to see if they would admit me and also grant me a scholarship. And so what they did was they matched my art scholarship for music. Okay. And so I took a left turn. And instead of going to Davidson for art, I went to Oakwood for music and went from there. And at some point I came back to Florida after about a year or so and went to the University of Florida. And it was there that my professor heard me singing an alto part of something.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask you. So how did you find your voice as a countertenor?
Well, it all started with me singing in a barbershop quartet at UF.
Spevsqua, although it's not Spevsqua anymore.
Yeah, it's like something BHS, the Harmony Society, I think, or something like that.
Sure, it's not as fun to say.
Yeah, not really as fun. But our quartet, our collegiate quartet, competed internationally in Anaheim, and we won the gold medal there. So as international collegiate gold medalists, we came back champions, and we're singing all around campus. And of course, there was one night where we had a performance at the president of the University of Florida, at the president's house, and because of being there, I wasn't paying attention to a guy that had kind of broken into a few cars, and I kind of didn't notice and let him pass. And so I didn't realize that later that night, that same robber broke into our house and hurt my Uncle Ben. And I realized that what he'd always said, with great power comes great responsibility. And from that point forward, I realized that I had, I think I'm mixing up origin stories.
Wait,
I'm so sorry.
Wait, do I hear Seal? Do I hear Christopher Rose?
Well, that night,
sorry,
I was bitten by a radioactive mezzo that evening, and then from that point forward, no.
Out there, we're dipping into the Batman Spider-Man origin story here. So as you
before I get to a string of pearls in a dark alley, the truth is my professor heard me singing this alto part. It was either a tag or it was part of something else we've been doing in choir. But either way, he heard me using this alto voice, and he took me up to his office and played a scale and had me sing the scale. And he said, "Nope, sing it where he plays it." He played an E flat major scale from E flat 4, E flat 5, and I tried singing it in that in my barotenor boy range. And he's like, "No, sing where I play." And so I was like, "Okay," and so I did. And
sorry to interrupt. Before this point, had you taken voice lessons? One of our principal violist, Liz, is watching. Hi, Liz. She was just curious. Had you studied voice at all before you got to
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So what I forgot to mention, in high school, the chorus teacher was really, she wanted to encourage me. She saw something there that I never did. And so she helped get me a little scholarship to take private voice lessons my senior year of high school.
We are so grateful to those music teachers who see that spark and potential and really help us.
Kay Alcorn, Mary Margaret Andrew, those are incredible people who basically changed my life. And I did take voice in college as well. As soon as I got to Oakwood, I don't think I played a day of trumpet when I got there. I played in the youth orchestra for maybe a month, playing timpani, and basically immediately started taking voice lessons and got it. Started singing as a tenor.
I feel you.
But when I was at UF, that's when the professor heard me, and he had me sing, and he tried having me sing in this alto range using my falsetto or whatever I was using then, and he stopped and stared at me and just said, "Do you know what you are?" And I'm like, "Am I in trouble?" He's like, "No, you are a countertenor." And I was like, That's awesome. Yeah, I was like, that's great. So what's that? And he's like, well, you're also an idiot. But he took this.
Idiots in college, man. Come on.
Yeah. What did I know? And so he gave me a disc of a countertenor that he knew and said, listen to this. When you come back on, next week on Monday, this is what you'll be doing for the rest of your life. I've been working very hard to prove him wrong, but so far he's been absolutely correct. I listened to this disc, and it was then that weekend that everything kind of clicked in place. It was that Kaiser Sose moment where, through hindsight, I'm now realizing that Michael Chance was actually Michael Chance and not a weird spelling of Michelle. I realized that Andreas Scholl wasn't a German Katie Lang. I realized it was like everyone, these are all men singing this way. And it was just such a shock. And it was so liberating because now everything that I thought that I could do, everything that was in my head that I wanted to produce through singing, through my instrument, I could now do. Everything that was difficult was no longer. It was just everything slapped like right into focus and it was great.
I love it.
I locked myself into every practice room I could find and started learning how to trill and sing melismas and do all the stuff that countertenors are supposed to do, and kind of went from there.
That's amazing. So did you start off in terms of repertoire? Did your teachers start you off, well, you have to sing Baroque repertoire, or was it whatever came? Was it a mix of things?
Whatever came out of Marilyn Horne's mouth was, those notes were thusly inserted into mine. No, anything that we could find that seemed appropriate. Like, we went through the 24 Italian, we went through, Handel arias. We even looked at some Mozart and things like that, and some Lieder. Because he was intent on also proving that the countertenor voice wasn't just an early instrument, that that this was a true voice classification that deserved to be alongside the other 4 food groups that we kind of subscribe to in singing. And that it is its own classification in its own right, at least now it is. And so I transferred that. Like, I sing gospel, I sing jazz, I sing musical theater, and of course barbershop. All these things I approach with my countertenor voice.
I love it.
And only use the baritoner voice as a party trick when I need to just to show that I can do it.
Still got it.
Still got it, baby.
Well, so let's point toward the Baroque, because I want to know how you came to really know and love Bach, because I know he is your guy, he's my guy. Like, you about there we go, and we're back. Sorry, friends. Thanks for bearing with us. The benefit we had on the 30th, you talked a bit about why you love Bach, but can you just revisit that for us and dig in some more?
Well, in high school, in the class keyboard in high school, we were we put into groups and assigned a project to basically just do a book report on genres, and so everyone was given a specific period. Now, right before this happened, there was in Gainesville, every Friday there was this kind of call and request show on the classical station in town. People would call in and just suggest whatever music they wanted, and they would just play whatever, which was so novel at the time. And a lot of people would request Vivaldi and Bach, and that's how I started hearing this music. And just hearing this music, I was just taken by it. And in middle school, before then, one of the first pieces we'd ever played in middle school band were Kokomo, Baby Elephant Walk, and a Prelude and Fugue of Bach's, Prelude and Fugue in C. And I never forgot the Prelude and Fugue. Like, I was just completely taken by it, but I'd never thought to pursue it until later on, until high school. And so I went to the public library and I checked out every CD I could that had Baroque or Bach or Handel or anything like that, and just absorbed it. There was just a connection that I couldn't explain to this music. And sooner or later, once I started listening to more and more of Bach and just really seeing how, the expanse of his style, in vocal works and instrumental works, like this was where I needed to be. I felt this weird kinship to this music. And later in life, once I really started digging into the choral works and, really kind of learning what the text meant and things like that, I started to see this further kinship and kind of spiritual connection to the music of Bach that I felt, honestly, as a Black person. I think there was this post 30 Years War, in Germany, there was such horror from the destruction and devastation that happened there, that the people there, especially composers and musicians, they clung to music more than anything. Like the music became kind of part of their soul, part of themselves. Like it was just instinctual, it seemed. And I felt in a similar way, I feel that way about spirituals and gospel and the music that, that came out of slavery and oppression and all those things. And I felt kind of an understanding in a similar way, whereas music was practical. It was a salve. It was something that helped us process life and get through life. And I saw that spirit in Bach. And so I've never thought about it any other way, as this is just something that's a part of me. So just since early childhood, Bach has kind of poked at me. And so I finally given in and said, fine.
Fine, I won't fight you anymore.
Do it.
I have some questions for you first in just a second, but we have some friends who I think would like to say hello. Stephanie Moore, good to see you.
What up?
And fellow countertenor Ian Howe.
Uh-oh.
There's gonna be a fight, y'all. Hang on.
I promise you, he's analyzing my voice right now, and I'm gonna get feedback about my.
We're gonna sound jack all of this. Oh, hey, and hello to David. Good to see you, my friend. We're so glad all of you are here. Yes, that's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I'm seeing wonderful. David Arroyo is. We're just going to hit some comments here. David Arroyo is a friend of mine. We went to undergrad together. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Oh my, nothing better than a countertenor. Now, here's a fun little story. Here's a little sidetrack. I was David Arroyo's accompanist in undergrad. So there's your trivia for the day. Oh, Yar, good to see you too. Yar's also another fellow Valpo grad. Oh my gosh. And one more from Ian. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reggie.
Wait, is this about me?
This is about you, my friend.
Oh.
So we're gonna come back to Bach, and I'll tell you why and how. So I want people to know the very first time that I met Reggie was sitting next to you at Oregon Bach Festival in a chorus rehearsal.
Don't make me sick.
Don't make me sick. So I'd been to OBF for several seasons at that point, and I got to sit down next to Reggie, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is the first time I sat next to a countertenor. And boy, we talked about the bar being set. My friend, the bar was set high and it was fully stocked. It was amazing. I'm like, I don't think I have to I'm just gonna sit here. This is amazing. But from that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, this is an incredible sound. This is an incredible person. And I was just so happy that I got to continue singing and working with you since then. So that's our friendship origin story. But coming back to Bach, what was I going to ask you? Oh, yes. So, hot take, Bach and ornamentation. All right. When we were talking on last Thursday with a Chicago visual artist, David Lee Sisko, he made illustrations for our performances of Handel's Triumph of Time and Disenchantment. And we were talking about, he loves Handel, he loves the freedom of ornamentation that can be done in those pieces. With Bach, it's a little different because he's like, I'm going to tell you what to do. And he's very he's very type A that way. But how do you feel in terms of any additional ornamentation, like or performance practice with Bach's vocal works? What do you think about that?
I think if you really understand ornamentation and you really understand Bach, I think within reason it's obviously okay to ornament, or I'd be calling myself out constantly, because I certainly do.
Gilding the lily, are we?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, of course, ornamentation can just exist to show off the singer or the musician.
Yeah.
Granted, but that's really not what Bach's music is about. And I think Bach's music is a little more organic than that. Like he is very explicit as to what he wants on the page, but I think he also does leave room for the person. Like there's the kind of Frankenstein monster quality of how he puts the spots on the page. It's like what is here is all the parts there, the head, the feet, the shoulders, all the organs. But it's until that lightning storm that Dr. Frankenstein, inserts into the monsters, that when it comes to life. And I think we're that lightning. I think Bach's music doesn't work. It doesn't really exist. It's not really Bach until you put the actual music and the performer together. It's a gestalt in that way. And that's the only way it exists. And because of that, I think when you are truly in touch with yourself as a person and as a musician, you kind of instinctually know when you can add a little to things like this, when a trill or an appoggiatura or something like that may add not just to the music, but just to that moment. Like you won't treat the music in the same way depending on the circumstance. And on top of that, there comes the issue of the da capo aria. One of the reasons why I think Bach is not ornamented often is because he doesn't really use them that often. Right. But when he does, I think it's still on us to fulfill the purpose of that aria in that way. And by that I mean I think da capo arias, the return to the A section is never the same once it's been processed through the B. In the same way as we can, as early musicians or as historians, we can look back at these periods, but because of everything that's come after the end of those periods and the periods thereafter, we see the before in a different light than than what they saw then. Right. And so we perform differently. We accord ourselves differently. And I think that's how da capo aria works. You sing the A section, and then you process what happens in the B section. And then when you return to the A section, you can't go back to the way it was before. You are now a different musician. You're now a different singer. You're now a different character that has been changed by whatever has happened through B. And I love that. And so there may be some ornaments that are appropriate. There may be, I've often removed, written ornaments in Bach's music to simplify things for effect. And also ornamentation doesn't just mean changing notes. It may be a change in tempo. It may be a change in dynamics. There are so many more tools you have in your box that you should feel free to use and experiment with. And of course, if you don't think you're ready to do that, if you don't think you fully understand, there are plenty of people out there who do. So it's just a matter of also asking them. Believe me, whenever I'm with someone who I respect in regards to Bach or early music, I'm going to ask them all the questions I possibly can.
I love it. Well, and I think that's what makes a really good artist. It makes a good, whatever you're doing. If you have the attitude of being a perpetual student, wanting to continually learn, you're only going to improve. in the our current society's climate right now, we hear the refrain, when you know better, you do better. It applies to a lot of things. It applies to a lot of things. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but a final word on ornamentation. Thank you, David Kurtenbach. Reggie's ornaments are unmatched. Thanks. We have a question from one of our viewers, my friend David. He said he's asking, you know, he used to sing more countertenor. He's been out of practice for a while. Do you have any recommendations about how someone could return to that countertenor voice that they may have once had, in terms of just sort of a technical thing?
Find a teacher. Honestly, just start taking lessons and see if you can get back to it. I mean, can you still sing as an alto? Are the notes still there? Is it more difficult? Is it easier? I think just try it, and then find someone who you trust, either through Skype or in person, however you feel comfortable. That's the easiest way. I mean, Ian Howell was just on here. I would pester him for a Skype lesson.
Look out, Ian.
I would drag him into this.
You have been called
because
out, Ian.
I am smart enough to know that when approached with questions like that, I can always refer you to someone even smarter. And I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I know someone who can say the right thing and will always say the right thing. So,
well, and I think I think that's absolutely, I agree completely. And I think the other thing, if you haven't sung for a while, period, it's like getting back into any sort of physical activity. You know, you really have to start slow with baby steps. You know, I have been way out of practice singing. And so I just committed this week to like 5 minutes of vocalization every day. I mean, we're going super basic just because everything that's lived in my little computer here has been calling me more than things that have lived here. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those use it or lose it kind of things in terms of ability. But that's a great question, David. Thanks so much.
And honestly, I think a lot of singers are going to be faced with this question because so many of us during this whole quarantine, we haven't sung. I haven't been inspired to sing very much.
It's hard.
I've sung very little over the past few months. And now I'm at a point where I really need to start getting back into it and preparing for what may come in the future or near future. And it's a little scary, but you know, you have to do it because you want to or need to.
Yeah. Liz Hagen, our violist, she's like instrumentalist, need to do it too. We're all in the same boat. Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of things that are coming up, you'll be joining us in September for a very special program that we're calling Generations. And it's, for us, it's a brand new approach because we are looking at the generations before and after J.S. Bach in terms of their style and musical approach, and then finding how that relates to the generations of Chicago jazz artists and jazz heritage. And we'll be joined by saxophonist Isaiah Collier, who will be on the show next week. We're going to talk to him a little bit more.
Cool.
But I know you'll be presenting at least two J.S. Bach cantatas, Ich habe genug and I believe Vergnügte Ruhe. Yeah? They're both so good. I mean, that's just yummy stuff. Any favorite bits from either of those cantatas that you love revisiting when they come around again?
I'm just looking forward to revisiting his cantatas, period. Vergnügte Ruhe, I've only sung twice in my life. And
this is going to be special.
And every time I get back to it, I find something new. I dig in a little more and find that there's just so much there in the text and the music itself that just absolutely speaks to me, and it fits so perfectly in the voice as well. I think for Ich habe genug, it's also great to get back to that one. I know that some people have issue with anyone but a baritone singing that cantata. But truth be told, even though it was premiered in Leipzig, it was actually written long before then. It had been written with the alto voice in mind first during his Weimar period, or was it Cothen? And it was never sung that way. But he kind of went back to it and kind of tinkered with it a little more. And then when it was finally premiered, it was premiered as a baritone cantata. Right. And so I love visiting that piece as well. I mean, that cantata as well, because both of them kind of really focus ultimately towards the idea that everything here is temporary, and everything here, all the pain is all temporary. It's just I'm looking beyond that to a true reward. And it's funny how you get that a lot in Bach's music, the idea of the world here is dross. The world here, is painful. There's always strife. There's always issue, to fight through. But we do so because there's a greater reward at the end, behind the end of the day. And if you don't hear that in half the spirituals as well, again, drawing it back to that parallel, right. You begin to see it in a different way. You begin to see that these cantatas should not be treated like dirges, but just really there's something kind of, there's a longing, there's hope, there's celebratory, there's something in there beyond just sadness. Like, and I live in that. I live in those pieces.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know we've been talking about how to find a collaboration between the Baroque artists and the jazz artists for that program. So that's still sort of in progress. Feels like everything right now is just in progress. But
what a better platform. I mean, Bach's music has been such a bridge between the classical genre and the jazz genre. I mean, in so many ways. I mean, not just with the superficial things like a continuo group and a combo, group, just kind of having similarities there, and charts versus continuo. Like there's so many superficial similarities, but there is a spirit, there is a soul in Baroque music, especially the music of Bach, that relates so well to jazz. I mean, the way the words give you all the information you need to perform, like the dynamics are there, the tempo's there, and it gives you this room to be so onomatopoeic and express the actual meaning behind the words, to allow yourself to make ugly sounds when it calls for it and not be focused just on the constant beauty of the voice. It makes you just, we're all chamber musicians. We're all in this together. I mean, one of my best teachers for Baroque music, particularly Bach, has been Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, I take as much from her as I take from anyone else, in the actual Baroque genre. And that spirit is there. And it's just because jazz, it's not alive unless you have the person there to bring those spots on the chart alive. And there's no paint by number with this. Like, you have to be involved. And I think that's exciting. And honestly, think about it. Every jazz musician who looks at classical music, Bach is always, he's always that gateway. Jacques Lussier, the Swingle Singers, even Benny Goodman. I mean, even to pop. I mean, Sting and Mary J. Blige have both sampled Bach heavily in their music.
Well, this came as soon as I talked to Isaiah about this project. I mean, that was the first thing he said. It's like, I love Bach. I started with Bach. I mean, he's there. He's there. He's everywhere. Yeah. Well, I know that we are all looking. First of all, we're all looking forward to trying to get back together, literally in the same room, to make music together as safely as possible. But this particular program, like I said, I am very, very excited about. It's going to be a new venture for Third Coast Baroque as our little baby organization continues to grow, and I'm really excited that you're going to be a part of it and help us develop this program too, in these pieces. I have some other questions. We're going to go a little bit past the top of the hour, so if you can stick around, friends, I hope you will. before we move on, we have some hellos, and one is from Miss Deborah Fox. It's so good to see you, my dear. We're so glad you're here. And Lexa, another mezzo. And Mr. Jaron, good to see you, my friend. Welcome from the West Coast. Oh my gosh. Jaron. Yay. It's so good to see so many beautiful folks.
Sorry, saying Lexa turned on Alexa, and so now there's just this.
That Amazon just reminded me. Hang on. Thanks, Alexa. My Alexa, the wake word is computer. So, first of all, watching Star Trek is completely out of the question. But I just muted it, so for all of our. I want to move forward because recently, you and a band of other choral artists started a petition, a pledge, which I think is going to grow into an organization called Black Voices. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, it's about time that this sort of thing happened. The inception of this was we were all seeing all of these statements of solidarity coming out of arts, arts orgs. Honestly, corporations, individuals, everyone has been in light of the recent murders of Black people, that people are starting to wake up, and because of that, organizations and corporations and so forth are starting to respond with this public sentiment, where people are finally realizing that the problem with race in this country has gone on long enough. It needs to change. And the thing is, it doesn't just stop with stopping murders by law enforcement and mass incarceration and those things, but it also goes into wealth and into power, into agency, and it goes into even the arts. Mm-hmm. And one thing that kind of riled us up a bit was seeing all of these statements of solidarity coming from arts orgs that typically would never hire a person of color anyway. They don't staff a person of color. Their boards are almost entirely white, are all white. And it just strikes kind of hollow to see them kind of, jump on the bandwagon when it's, when their actions have proved that it seems like a hollow sentiment, even now. Mm-hmm. And what I've also seen is that a lot of these organizations the way they've treated these statements is in a way that it almost like separates the humanity from this. What the actual personal relationship between this. Like it when they say we stand with this community in light of what happened to George Floyd, they say it in a way that it seems like we stand with the survivors of this hurricane. We stand with Haiti in light of the earthquake. Like the murder of innocent Black bodies in this country, it's not an act of God. And that's what it seems like, that there's so much, there's distance, and that you take yourselves out of it in that way. And
there's not accountability or responsibility for the action.
No, there isn't. And so we decided that enough is enough. And that if you're going to release these statements of solidarity, we're going to also help you a little bit by creating this. We created this pledge for people, for not individuals and organizations to sign, to show that here are actual actionable steps that you can do to help create a better atmosphere, to work on diversity and equity and inclusion, in the arts scene. And that's really important.
I'm going to share this right here. People can go to blackvoicesmatterpledge.org, and you can read the entire pledge. And what I love about it is you have specific to different roles in the choral community, for conductors, for music educators, for professional and community choruses, for faith-based choruses, for composers and publishers and arrangers, for nonprofit organizations and their leadership, and professional organizations, educational. I mean, you really have it covered in terms of specific actionable steps that people can take, because, and I'm sorry to sort of butt in here, but it just feels like, you know, there has been so much, you know, we talk about DEI training, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that there have been all of these required trainings that you have to go through when you're working for a company or something like that. But where's the practical application? That is always my, you know, my little brain is like, okay, well, how can I put this into use? Like, how can I apply this to my everyday life? And you all have created this wonderful resource that shows us how we can do this.
And it's important because what it does is instead of leaving yourselves to hold yourselves accountable and then eventually forget about your intent, what you have here is a you know, once you sign the pledge, we are creating a page that will publicly show everyone, every organization, every individual who has signed this pledge. And then so here is a public statement. Here is the proof right here that you said that you want to do this. And you can't hide from the fact that there are suggestions here and that there are actionable steps. And it becomes now on you to hold yourself to what you've publicly signed, but it's also puts all of us together in holding each other accountable and basically saying that you signed this and you need to take these steps to do better. Exactly. And hopefully we, you know, if things go as planned, we will start to see these things being implemented within organizations, all of them.
Well, and I think, you know, you and I had talked earlier about sort of the emotional labor that has now been asked of the Black community. So many people have been asked to now become consultants and coaches and educators to the white community or just the non-Black community in general. How we can, you know, what do we need to know? What have we not known to this point? And you know, the point that many of these people are not being compensated for their services.
Not at all. Like I feel like I should start every time someone asks me a question about this, I should just respond with my Venmo name first and then go from there. But that's the truth of it, is that everyone again is realizing, oh, we need to take these steps. And so the first thing to do is call on all of our Black friends, as few or as many, and have them be teachers again. And you know, we know we've had you do this before and before and before and before and before, but you know, just do one more time. And you know,
maybe it'll stick this time
for no compensation. And so again, yes, we are, you know, we're bearing the brunt. We're shouldering this, you know, this burden by processing all of these emotions over again, not trusting that anything will happen again, and also, you know, not being paid for it. Like, there is a lot of emotional labor that's going on, and we're not being compensated for any of this. And it's you know, it's kind of painful to see us go this over and over and over and over and over again without anything happening. And I don't know, hopefully this time things will change, because I think we'll hopefully get to a point where you won't have to call your one Black friend or the one Black person on the board when there's something right here that you can sign or have signed to go through. And we'll let you know if you're not doing it. We'll let you know if you're doing it wrong. But But to get started, there's something right there that you can work on.
Yes. Deborah Fox have requested that we post the link. I'm trying to. My tech is being weird, so I apologize, but you can go to the web address again is Black Voices Matter Pledge, all one word, .org. That's Black Voice. Actually, hang on one second. I know what I can do. Oh boy. Hang on. I can do this.
Tech bro Angie.
Hold, please. We got this. Oh, please work. Oh my gosh. My tech is so mad right now. I seriously pressed a button earlier and it's like, yeah, okay, I can't do it that way.
Okay.
we will post it after the broadcast ends. I'll make sure to post it in the comments. We'll have it also in the description on this post as well on Facebook and all the places. So,
and it's important to mention right now that we're kind of filtering everything through change.org currently. Yes. And when you sign through change.org, we'll be able to transfer that to the site, but please do not donate to change.org. That what you give there goes to them and supports the employees of that site. And there are some issues in regard to how funds are kind of allocated through it. So just don't get, when it's time to donate to the cause, we'll let you know, and because we're working on setting that up right now. But just for now, we just want you to commit to the pledge if you feel that you can, and sign it, and then we'll go from there. Things there are several phases that are to be implemented throughout this whole thing. Like this won't just be a one-time thing. This won't just be something to sign. Like there will be more coming and more to do to work towards diversity and equity and inclusion.
This is fantastic. And I mean, we've talked about this before on our live stream series about building the plane while we're flying it. And it sounds like you guys are there too. But it's very clear that the vision is very clear. I think the first step that everyone can take as a member of the choral community, sign this pledge, and choral organizations, sign this pledge, and then stay tuned, take action, and educate yourself.
Do it now. Don't sit back and watch and say, well, I'm not ready, and then wait for the next situation where you feel motivated to do this. Don't wait. Please.
Exactly. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to sort of put you on a hot seat right now. What do you think about audiences? How can they support arts organizations as we're all working toward diversity, equity, and inclusion? Have we sort of thought about that a little bit? Oh, John Sagos, good. He put the link in the comments. Thanks, John.
Cool.
Sorry.
I suppose. Well, they could perhaps be aware of themselves. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, Jonathan Woody and I put together this piece based around microaggressions and racist things that happen to people of color, Blacks and people of color in the arts community. And a lot of the things that are said to us, a lot of things that are done to us are said to us by audience members, more so than anyone that we work with or anyone involved with a hall. I think what audiences can do to support arts organizations is just be open-minded when arts organizations try to do something to change the way things are done. Mm-hmm. There are, many organizations you have to try. You may fail, but you have to keep trying to really make a change. And some organizations may try by adding more programming that's solely, world music or the music of different cultures. They may try by partnering with venues that may be in minority neighborhoods. Everyone's, so many organizations are trying something. And what audience members can do is not say, well, I don't really care about the gospel concert. I don't really care about this world music series. I don't really want to go and watch these, this organization in this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Do it, support it, do it anyway. Mm-hmm. If you actually care, then be supportive as we try and create a better atmosphere and community for everyone.
Yeah, communicating with that arts organization and letting them know that you see what they're doing and that you support it, whether that's buying a ticket to that venue that you don't usually go to, or sending a gift to the organization, or even just a note to the organization that to let them know that you appreciate their efforts. Yeah,
and also don't. If there are people that you don't recognize that are there in jeans and a BLM t-shirt who may move along with the music or clap after a movement, don't give them an evil eye. Don't raise a stink. These people are coming here for the first time, and you as an audience member, more than the performers and the in the organization itself, you are the most present person. You are the most person that most upfront person that is at that access point for this person seeing this for the first time. It's not me on stage who really affects, this person who's coming to see a concert for the first time in Symphony Hall or, something like that. It's actually you. It's how you treat them in the audience that determines whether or not they'll feel comfortable enough to come back.
Wow.
And it's so important to realize that as an audience member, you are part of the whole experience too.
They're another ambassador for the organization, for the sector in general,
Yeah. We can talk all day about whether or not there's a fourth wall between the audience and the stage, but there is no wall between you and the person next to you. And so you have to be aware of yourself in those situations.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think this is great. We're kind of just sort of thinking out loud about this. I love it. I absolutely love it. I also want to recognize that talking about our early music sector, we had talked about earlier, you're serving on a special committee of sorts for Early Music America, their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. Can you just give us a quick summary of what y'all are up to right now, and what your vision and plan is for that?
At the moment we're kind of working on our mission statement and trying to and really figure out what we can possibly do. The people that are on this task force, it's extremely diverse, and it's a great group of people. And we're just at the moment we're still putting ourselves together and figuring out how best to really operate to make things better. This isn't. I know some people are skeptical of this happening and thinking that this is a response, a reaction to what's been happening recently, but this has all been in the works since early fall of last year. This has always been coming, and things even before recent events, there had been some serious movement in really hitting the ground running. But we know that we're going to mess some things up. We might misstep occasionally, but we want to hit the ground running in the best way possible. And I think pretty soon you'll see the fruits of this effort. And it takes time to put these things together. We have to be patient while working hard, and we just kind of need everyone else to be patient. But the truth is that Early Music America has seen their problems with diversity and whiteness, and not just in regards to color, but just the general straight washing as well as whitewashing, and so there is effort being done. Like, I've been a chief skeptic of many years, and I have seen what they're trying to do, and that's why I'm happily signing my name and being a part of this. And I think that pretty soon we'll see that there will be an honest effort to make things better. Of course, a lot of the issues now arise from the fact that we are all under quarantine and social distancing, and there is nothing happening. So we can't really show, completely exactly what we want to do because there are no concerts happening. We can't hire people of color because we can't hire anyone right now.
But it does allow us, I think one benefit of this in terms of arts organizations is it has been, after we have the scramble of do we survive or not, it does give us a minute to breathe and reevaluate what we're doing as an organization. Yeah. So there is a benefit there where we just have a little space, and I think we're all trying to take advantage of that as much as possible. Which is,
I think most are. I think not everyone, but I think most. And this, and then you're right. This is the advantage. This is the silver lining of this gift of time.
Yes.
And in a way, this is the controlled burning that we needed to burn off the old, the old wood and let the new brush come through. And this is a chance that we have that when we get through phase 4, when we get through, relaxed social distancing, or when we get to a point where we can have live concerts and audiences and people, together again without taking risks, that we can hit the ground running in a more equitable way. This is the soft reboot that the whole that the arts universe needed.
I love it.
And then we can restart things in a way that really benefits everyone, especially those that have gone ignored for so long. But we all have to be patient. But we all still have to be vigilant at the same time. And I think we can be. And I think that work is being done by many. But and I guess in a way it would be fair that we do occasionally show our work as we're doing it. It would help kind of reinforce trust, trust but verify in a sense.
Yes.
that we do, occasionally pop in and say, hey, here are some of the steps we're taking. Please be patient. We're still working. And, and feel free to comment, but, don't try and destroy the work that's being done if it's, being done honestly to benefit everyone.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, the white community has a lot of catching up to do. And so it's going to take a little time for white people to fully educate ourselves on the history that was pushed to the side in textbooks and in history books and all of that. And so we have a lot of processing to do ourselves in order to bring it into our action. And so, I think the Black Voices Matter and what Early Music America is doing with this task force, they're not fully formed yet, but they're what we need. Start before you're ready, friends.
And the same is happening with Händel Haydn Society, with my new role as programming consultant. There's a lot being done to change the way that things have been going in the past. And I think, and we've even, and we plan on, hitting the ground running in that way as well. Like we're recognizing what, that work needs to be done. And I think we will get someplace with this. And it's not just groups here. I've seen this sort of work being done, internationally as well. Academy of Ancient Music, I kind of go to often as a prime example of a group that has been working really hard with the issue of equity and diversity and really going out into the community and ingratiating itself into the community that it's a part of. Like Händel Haydn Society has realized that we need to make sure that we understand that and that everyone knows that we are a part of the Boston community and have been so for the past 200 years. And sometimes we've forgotten, but I think we're all on the same page now. And we want to make sure that everyone is aware that, this exists for the them, all of us.
Well, I think I speak for all of these organizations when I say that they are very lucky to have you. And you are incredibly generous with your time and your energy and your perspective and your insight and your experience and sharing that with the arts community, with the Baroque and early music community in general. We're just very lucky that that we have you in this time right now, and others like you who are willing to shine an honest light on what's really going on and bring positive steps to move forward and make it better. So thanks, Reggie. I mean, you do all the good things. Sometimes. You get to be a bit of a superhero for folks.
You're the one
see how, I know. So do you see how I'm segueing there? Do you see what I'm doing?
Clever.
I know. I'm gonna do this. We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about Wonder Woman. I mean, how? So for those of you who know Reggie, you know how much this man is a Wonder Woman fan. And I just happened to pull a few photos that I wanted to share. This is beautiful. But I'm going to show you, I think, one of my favorites. The baby. Was that Shannon's?
Yes.
Baby?
Absolutely. My little sidekick.
Yes. So how did you get into Wonder Woman, my friend?
Well, I've always been a big DC Comics fan.
Okay.
Because I recognize that DC is just better than Marvel. I'm sorry, it's true.
We just rewatched Iron Man 1 and 2 last night as I was grading, so I'm
now it's time to watch Wonder Woman again. Sorry.
That's okay. It will be done. It will be done.
But in these characters, there's so much inspiration to be taken from that, especially Wonder Woman, who exists as a paragon for truth and attempting to always come to the truth, and also spreading a message of peace. And all those things I think are important for me as well. Other than the fact that she's just an amazing character, and her creator, William Marston, is also a pretty incredible being. When you see how much of his own personal life was integrated into his character. Like, the one thing I will say, there are some things that I won't talk about, but one thing is that Wonder Woman is based in truth. Like her lasso, the lasso of Hestia, the lasso of truth, is based on his own invention, the polygraph machine. Like, this is the man who invented the lie detector and created a comic character who incorporated that into the lore of this character, who's been around forever. And also, he was a Harvard professor. Wonder Woman was born here, and for a while she was based in Boston. But she's just the coolest, just the best.
Well, I was fortunate to get a lovely Wonder Woman care package, including this cutie patootie. Come on. Oh, she was great.
So awesome.
Kung Fu grip. I think we're gonna save the whiskey conversation for another time. Maybe a little bonus track there, but we know it's important. Put that out there. The whiskey, it's important. Reggie, you have been incredibly generous with your time once again with us. We're really looking forward to having you in Chicago in September, making music, live music with live other people in one room. But until then, thank you for the work that you're doing with Black Voices Matter and with Early Music America. Thank you for the gorgeous artistry that you bring and share with the entire world. Like I said, we're lucky to have you in this time, not just for the incredible work that you do, but the incredible art that you create. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I look forward to talking to you again soon, my friend, but I'm going to let you go, and I hope you have a great week.
Thanks.
Awesome. We'll see you soon, Reggie. Bye. Oh, thank you all so much for joining us today. It was a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad Reggie was able to be with us, talk a little bit about his origin story, talk a little bit about the Black Voices Matter pledge, which you can find a link to that in the comments on Facebook. We'll put it on all of our other things as well, which is blackvoicesmatterpledge.org. You can also make sure that you stay in touch with us by subscribing to our email newsletter. We'll be sending some things out this week. Make sure that if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel or followed us on Facebook or Instagram, make sure you do that. We want to keep in touch with you as we start to solidify plans for next season in particular. It's a fun game. What's going to happen? We're gonna make some music. We'll see if it's a live show, if it's a recorded show. I mean, we're still working all the things out. It's great. Folks, I'm grateful for you. I hope that you're safe and you're well. I hope you come back on Thursday. We have a new board member that we will be talking to, Eric Malmquist. He's the executive director of the Elgin Symphony Orchestra and recently joined our board, so we're going to have a great chat with him. And then we're going to have one more Meet the Artist episode a week from today Tuesday, June 30th, we're going to be talking to jazz saxophonist Isaiah Collier, one of the most amazing young Chicago jazz artists out there right now. So I look forward to sharing those conversations with you. After June 30th, we're going to take a little break, going to take a little time off and regroup. So that gives you a chance to catch up on past episodes, which you can find on all of our social media channels. But until then, take good care, stay hydrated. We'll see you next time, friends.